Hello. Hi. This is going to be a little weird. Who am I talking to? Those people or these people? And actually, I'm going to try to get it where they can see the Buddha and not so much of me, but that's all right. Anyway, hi. We're going to be fooling around with hey, Janet. Hi, Ed. Lynn, Marianne. Do you mind if I turn around so they can see who they're in the room with? All right. Yeah, leave it slightly ajar. There you go. So first day back. We'll be playing with the technology for a little while till we get comfortable with it. Y'all let me know if you can't hear me. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it right here. There's no sound? Seriously? Okay. Don't do that to me. Okay. I think somebody had their sound off. Okay. That's not going to work. That's okay. We'll get this all worked out. All right, let's do the verse of the Kesa. So, ding, chick, ding. Here, let me show you. That's the way this one starts. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Ding. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. And then the same thing to start the Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Please stand. spouse. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakening mind to be present. It fills our sacred space, guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with virtue, mindfulness, and wisdom. We offer it on behalf of all beings. Be seated. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for refuge, being one with the Buddha. I resolve to each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for refuge, being one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for refuge, being one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. So as always, we'll do a guided meditation on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. What do you think would be a good practice for our first time back Metabhavana? Metabhavana? I think so too. As the sound of the bell fades, take a few nice deep breaths, letting your lungs fill and empty completely each breath. And then just let your breath settle into a comfortable rhythm. Don't need to breathe any special way, but as you exhale, just let this phrase ride on your breath, silently emerging from your heart. May I be happy. May I be free from animosity. May I be free from stress and affliction. May I look after myself with ease. Call to mind a loved one and picture them with you or think of their name. And send them a wish for their happiness. May they be happy. May they be well. And if you like, you can visualize that as a light extending out from your heart to touch them. Or experience it as a warmth, the warmth of your goodwill, your kindness. Touching them with the thought, may they be happy. Call to mind a good friend. And if you like, you can think of some of the things you like about this person, favors they've done you maybe, or just they're pleasant to be around and caring, supportive. And wish for happiness for them also. May they be happy and well. And if you like, you can visualize them or just think of their name, send them the light, send them the warmth of your kindness. Call to mind an acquaintance, Someone that you know, but you don't know well, perhaps, or you just feel very neutral toward. But you know that they also want to be happy and they want to be well. So picture them or think of their name and send them that wish. May they be happy. May they be well. Call to mind an adversary. Someone, maybe someone you just have a difficult time liking. Or maybe they've been an obstacle for you in some way. Or you don't have to feel some special way for them. The objective here is to develop goodwill for everyone, to recognize that everyone is seeking happiness, sometimes not too skillfully. But if they were happy and well, you would probably get along with them better. So visualize them or think of their name. Send them that light or warmth with the thought, may they be happy, may they be well. Finally, may all beings be happy. May all beings be well. All beings in one way or another are seeking happiness, contentment, well-being in different ways, in different forms. And with this one, you can send that thought in different directions to the north, south, east, west, above and below, or to different kinds of beings, those that walk on the earth, fly, swim, burrow, whatever represents all beings to you. Just send that wish. May they be happy. May they be well. So before the meditation ends, just send that thought one more time to all beings. And then just bring your attention back to your breath. Just concentrating on the breath in your belly or the tip of your nose. The bell will ring twice to end the meditation. When it rings the first time, bring your hands together in Gasho. And when it rings the second time, just bow. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now and reciting the sutras, hearing the dharma, and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, all ancestors of this Sangha, and all beings in the Dharma world. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. Let their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of the body or spirit, and those ministering to the breathing. We pray for those suffering from violence, for the oppressed, the imprisoned, and all refugees. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukha jivino katam punya phalang mailam sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings springing from the good we have done. It was so weird when we started chanting. And it wasn't just me in front of the screen. All these other voices. I liked it. So I've been thinking for weeks, what will I talk about? Our first meeting back here. And then I got this email from somebody asking me about right view. So this is someone who's involved with a group of people, and it's like a spiritual friends group. So they sort of get together and discuss stuff. And so they were going to start with the first factor of the Eightfold Path, right view. And then they said, what is it? Basically, or not really that, but where do I look for resources, and what do we talk about? And it's well, let's start there. We'll start with right view. I don't know that I've ever given a talk about right view specifically. I've given talks about the Eightfold Path many times, but I'm not sure I've ever talked in much detail about right view, and I won't talk in great detail about it tonight. But so there's this really interesting discourse called the Ditti Sutta. Ditti is views. That's the Pali word, and it has to do with Anathapindika. So Anathapindika was a very rich person who was responsible for a lot of the expansion of Buddhism when the Buddha was alive. He funded a lot of monasteries. And, I look at some place like White Sands Buddhist Center and all the stuff there and think, wow, there's a lot of generosity went into making this place happen. It didn't even scratch the surface compared to Anathapindika. There was one place, there was a piece of ground that he wanted to acquire to give to the Buddha as a monastery, and the person didn't want to sell it, and he kept offering him more and more and more, and finally the guy said, if you'll cover every inch of the ground with gold coins, you can have it. And he did it. Anyway, that a total digression there from what I started to talk about, but this was the kind of guy he was. He was a very dedicated lay Buddhist. And so he decided to go visit some people who were teachers in other traditions. So, the Buddha wasn't the first holy man in India. There were a lot of them. That was kind of a tradition. People would at some point decide that they wanted to go try to find out what God was, or try to find out how to not keep coming back to the cycle of suffering or whatever. And so they would go into practicing various forms of yoga and asceticism and so on. And so he decided he'd go check out some of these other teachers because the Buddha was busy. He was meditating or something. And so he started into this sort of like a park, and a bunch of these wandering ascetics saw him coming, and they were all sort of hanging out and arguing and laughing and so on. And they saw him and they said, oh, this is one of those Buddhists. We got to be quiet. We got to be serious now. maybe he'll think we're worth coming and talking to. And so they calmed down, and he came over to see him. And so he said hello, and they kind of sat down with them. And one of them said, tell us, what views does your teacher have? And Anathapindika said, well, I don't know exactly what views he has. They said, well, if you don't know exactly what views he has, what views do his monks have? He said, I don't know exactly what views the monks have either. He said, it's I'm a little vague in exactly what you mean by views. And so they said, well, tell us what views you have. What are your views? And so he says, look, tell you what, why don't you tell me what your views are? And then maybe that'll give me an idea of what you're looking for. And so one of them said, okay, well, my view is that the cosmos is eternal. And only that is true, and everything else is worthless. You can't believe it. That's the view I have. Cosmos is eternal. That's the important thing. And then another one said, well, my view is that the cosmos is not eternal. And that view is worthwhile, and every other view is worthless, and so that's what you should believe. And then another one said, well, my view is the cosmos is finite. And another one says the cosmos is infinite. And another one said, well, my practice is, my belief system is that the soul and the body are the same thing. And the next one said, oh, no, mine is that the soul is one thing and the body is another. And so they went on like this for some time, talking about these sort of, lofty metaphysical concepts about cosmos and souls and bodies and all that kind of stuff. And so Anathapindika listened to all of this, and he says, well, for the venerable one, for the ascetic who says the cosmos is eternal, only this is true, anything otherwise is worthless. He says his view arrives from his own inappropriate attention or independence on the words of another. Now, this view has been brought into being, is fabricated, dependently originated. Whatever has been brought into being is fabricated, dependently originated. That is inconstant. Whatever is inconstant is dukkha, is stressful. It says, so this ascetic is adhering to stress and submitting himself to stress. All right, so let me unpack that a little bit, because I know that's complicated. So what he's saying is that this guy's view is something that has been fabricated from mind out of other things. This didn't arise due to enlightenment, because they all don't agree on any of this stuff, right? So if you look, well, where do you get this view? Well, I heard it from something, or what through just kind of pondering things, or sounds good, or whatever. And he says, so it's a fabricated thing. It's dependent on other stuff. So there's kind of four important things, four seals of the Dharma, four foundations of belief. And one of them is anything that is made up of other things is unstable. This is made up of other stuff and therefore is unstable. And anything that's unstable is in some way stressful. So, the example that I have used many times, some of you have heard, I'm sure, is, you buy a brand new Ferrari. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever had. It makes you very happy. And so then you start worrying about it getting parking lot dings. So, you park it where nobody can scratch it, but it still gets dinged. If you drive it, it gets little pebbles bounce off of it or whatever. So you're constantly trying to keep your Ferrari as pristine as it was. And then your mind changes, your relationship changes toward it, because that's also made up of other things. And so the Ferrari is inevitably going to deteriorate, as is your attitude toward the Ferrari. And so sooner or later, this, the most fabulous sports car you ever imagined is going to become stressful. I used to work at Maitland Center in a 5-story building, and the 5th story was all belonged to this one company. It was a multinational company, and so like the regional muckety muck would come periodically, and this was during the Miami Vice years, and he drove a Ferrari Testarossa. It was bright red, lipstick red. It was beautiful. And he was so concerned about that car that he parked diagonally across 2 handicap spots when he came in there. Of course, they had the 5th floor of the building, so I guess he could do that. But, I thought about the amount of worry that he must have around this thing. So if you're attached to something that is unstable and eventually going to become stressful, then that's wrong view. If I think that something is going to lead to true happiness, but really it's unstable, then that doesn't work out over the long term. And then the next thing is that attaching to the self, anything that is built around this idea that I have a me that I can identify, and it's good or bad or whatever, and it's going to live eternally and all of that kind of stuff. When we think about this, we know on some level that we're not eternal, and yet we act as if we're going to be here forever sometimes. Or we pick up on one little thing about ourself and we call it ourself, and we think it's a good self or a bad self or whatever. So that also is ultimately stressful. As soon as I identify something as me, it becomes stressful. And so this is what the Anathapindika was telling this guy. You have identified with this view, and therefore you're building yourself around something that is ultimately stressful. And then he went through all of these other things. If you think the cosmos is eternal, that's stressful. If you think the cosmos is not eternal, that's stressful. The fact that you're attaching to something that is not really you and that is not permanent means that you're attaching to something that's ultimately going to create stress. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So he goes back and he tells the Buddha this story, and the Buddha goes, "That's really good." And all these monks around, he goes, "You guys should do this too. You should go out and test yourselves against other people like this once in a while and see, are your views right views or not?" So, to answer to the question of what is right view, it's really understanding what is the root of suffering. Where does the suffering come from? And we're usually, when we experience stress, we're usually looking in the wrong place for it. We're mad at that guy over there, right? Something like that. Or we don't have something that we think we need. All of those things are stressful. A lot of the stress is because we're attaching our happiness to something that is not really happiness. The belief that we have a self that is somehow permanent and constant. One of the signs of enlightenment is recognizing our oneness with everything. If you read like Dogen talks about, to study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by 10,000 things. So, if you go to White Sands, there's a sign somewhere out there that says that your life of true happiness does not need a self to exist. And I told Kai Tien once, that was good, but I think it should read, your life of true happiness needs no self to exist. Because once you think you know what yourself is, you created reasons for it not to be happy. And then finally, recognizing, impermanence. If we expect something is going to be this way forever, ultimately it's going to let us down. That's not necessarily a bad thing. COVID, for example, the whole circumstance changed. I mean, March of 2020, we couldn't be here anymore, and now here we are. So even things like that happen. Janet, what kind of audio problems are there? Is it from me looking the wrong direction, or is there something else? Sorry. It may just be the position of the microphone. Anyway, any questions or comments on that?
You and understanding are used interchangeably.
Yeah, so sometimes you'll see the Eightfold Path translated right view, and sometimes you'll see it as right understanding. When you divide the Eightfold Path into three parts, which some schools of Buddhism do, you've got right view and right intention, are basically wisdom, seeing reality as it is, understanding what really leads to stress and suffering and what doesn't, and then resolve or intent to do that which leads to happiness and to not do that which leads to stress.
It seems cumulative, you only gain that understanding or that view through practice. So as systemic as it looks as an eightfold path, it's really just much more than just another step.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I was doing Bright Dawn, one of the people in my cohort said, "I'm going to try practicing one factor of the Eightfold Path at a time, as if it were steps." And I said, "You can't do that." So there's a question. The question is, I hear you talk to me about attachment, everything we attach to, including the self we can't hold on to. This leads to stress. But how do we let go? Because we always want something. Yeah, that's a good question. So one way we let go is by recognizing that having what we think we want is not going to make us happy. It might. So that's not always true. I mean, if I'm dying of thirst and somebody brings me a canteen full of water, that's probably going to make me really happy. But it's not going to last, not forever. So, recognizing that none of those things are permanent sources of happiness, that things are going to be constantly changing. And part of it is just to practice letting go. Now, look, there's things that you don't want to let go of. You know, I I really like my dog. I don't want to let go of my dog. One of these days, he's going to get old and die, and I'm not going to like that. I'm going to cry. But that doesn't keep me from having dogs. Knowing that, I still, recognize that he's going to pass, but I still enjoy what I have in the moment. So enjoy what you have in the moment. And when it passes, be appropriately sad or unhappy about it. Not unhappy. You can be sad and not unhappy. I know that's weird, but you can, happiness is a kind of a constant state. I really don't like the term happiness because we misunderstand it. But contentment is probably better. Well-being is a better thing to pursue than happiness. But if we have preponderance of positive emotions, that's a good thing. But we accept that sometimes, there's the unfortunate things are going to happen, and be appropriately sad or frustrated or whatever it calls for. That help? Here, I got all these people in the room with me, and the only people asking questions are online. That's not true. Neil asked a question. All right. Shall we call it a night? Anything else having to do with anything at all? Okay. So I got a question for you. There are social media platforms out there where you can build your own community. There's quite a few of them out there now, and I've been looking at some, and I'm going to start trying a couple of them out. So basically, some of them allow you to, we could get rid of Zoom. Um, we'd have our own group, kind of like the Facebook group, only there's no advertising. There's nobody tracking our data and, trying to sell us stuff when we get off. I mean, it would all be within, it'd be like coming here, only virtual. So I want to try this, but I need a name for it. Because if it works out, there's some other people out there in the world that I probably would invite to have their communities in there with us. So I was thinking about something like, well, so there's a thing in one of the Zen dedications, the mind flower blooms in eternal spring. I thought, mind flower, that would be cool. But there's an organization out there called Mind Flower that sells marijuana. So that's probably not what I want to do. So I don't know. Anyway, if anybody has any ideas for something that you think would make a really good, simple but good name for a Buddhist organization that's beyond land, that perhaps might even be international. I was thinking about what Zen Peacemakers International does. They have like 52 affiliates now, and they're not all of them, but many of them have online meetings and stuff like that, all through their platform, their hub. So, something like that. So if you have any thoughts, let me know. Yeah, no mind flower. That's good. Yeah. I was thinking about something like Gateless Gate, but I'm sure that's taken. One hand clap. The problem so I don't know that I want to be real specifically Zen because I don't know that I want to bind us that closely. So Gateless Gate, that would be a problem. One hand clapping, that would be, but I even thought about using the term MU somehow in there, but that's a very specific thing. So maybe not, but anyway, I'm feel free to brainstorm and send me the results of that. And, all right, anything else? All right, say the 4 great vows. You want to do the ding, chick, bing thing? Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody. Friends, I respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. Each of us must strive to awaken. Take heed, do not squander this life. Thank you all. See you next time.